Hey, Mountaineer Rants is back on the air. The difference today is my boy Terry is remote, and this is him right here.
I am here. I just look a little different in this episode.
Yeah, he was heartsick over us losing at Pitt, except we didn't lose at Pitt. We beat Pitt, and all's right with the world. As a matter of fact, because this is called Rants, I was going to say, good night, everybody. There's nothing to rant about. But we need to review this game. We need to celebrate it.
Absolutely.
As those of you that saw the game were lucky enough to see that we played against a quarterback for Pitt who's had like 6 years experience under Cignetti as an offensive coordinator at Boston College, and then under Cignetti again in his hometown of Pittsburgh. And our quarterback was knocked out on the second series, so we won the game with a backup red shirt freshman who'd never started a college football game before, Nico Marco.
Think about that now. He comes in here. He is a redshirt freshman. He did play a good bit in the Oklahoma State game last year, but now he's thrust into the biggest rivalry game that he's ever going to go into, and I think he made a good account of himself too.
He's never had a college game where he had a week to prepare for. He was always put in. He did play a little bit against Oklahoma State last year, and he's played in the second half of some of these games, and he's a good quarterback, but he's never been the starter. He only gets about 25% of the reps during the week to practice, and he's never gone into a game. He's just all of a sudden, here, go win the big rivalry in front of 60,000 fans.
Yeah, no pressure, huh? No pressure, Nico. Out there. tough spot, but he responded, I think very well.
Nico went in and missed his first 3 passes, one of which was very catchable, and then he connected on his next 6 with no interceptions. That's very respectable. Now, some people might have wanted us to throw more or whatever, but when you're in the lead and you're at home and you've got a backup quarterback and he's a freshman, you don't make mistakes. The goal is not to make mistakes. He had one fumble, but other than that, he played a very fine game.
He made one mistake in the game, and thankfully it was the style of game where we didn't have to let it all kind of hang out because that wasn't the game it was. This was a physical smack it back and forth, and the tougher team was going to win. And we just needed somebody not to mess it up. And he made less mistakes than the 6-year quarterback from Pitt did.
That's exactly right. And one of the reasons we didn't have to throw it all over the field was our defense. Our defense gave up 0 touchdowns against Pitt. Now, that's 6 points is all they got. We won this game shutting them down to 6 points with no touchdowns, and that's the lowest Pitt has done against us since 1996 when we shut them out. So it's been a couple of decades.
There were some tense moments early on when they took the ball and ran it right down the field, got inside our 10. But when we stiffened and stopped them right there, that was a big one because that was a win for the defense. And I think even though they had dominated and went down the field, I think our confidence grew because of that. And they didn't do anything after that.
I agree. I have to say, I was concerned. On the first 12 snaps, they ran the ball every time. They moved with 67 yards, went right down the field. Our defense stiffened and they got a field goal. But then we got the ball back and did next to nothing with it. In fact, I think it was on that possession that we lost Green.
Yes.
Pitt then got the ball and I thought they were moving again. They got 12 yards and they were called back for holding. Then they got a yard, then they lost, then they got 6 yards, then they ran for 2, and they were right on the edge of a first down, ran for it and got it, but they jumped offside, so they were backed up again. So on that series, I still wasn't sure if we could stop them, but we did after that. By the time they got a hold of the ball the third time, we stopped them 3 and out.
Well, we before the season started about our defense and not getting turnovers. And I kept saying, we got to get turnovers. We got to get turnovers. We got 3 turnovers in this game. We did turn it over once ourselves on that fumble. But we even had 2 fumbles in the Duquesne game when we blew them out. We gave away. We didn't get turnovers. So we got 3 in this game. And not only were they were critical turnovers too.
When we fumbled the ball, we took it back on an interception a couple of plays later. Now that's probably at least on their quarterback as much as it's on us, but we ended up going in and getting a score out of it. We ended up at the halftime 6-7, and that was still considered pretty much anybody's game. We outplayed them in the second half.
We've already intercepted more passes in the first 3 games than we did all of last year. Think about that one.
And they were shut out in the second half. This is Pitt with an experienced quarterback, a boastful line, a team that did fine against Cincinnati and ran up the score against their cupcake. We shut them out in the second half.
We could have a couple players, but unless you got something else you want to talk about right now.
Go ahead. Let's talk about the players.
Well, I got a couple of them that jumped out to me, and I'm going to give you 3 of them at first, and I'll talk about a couple others. And no surprise, they're defenders. The first one that jumped out at me when I watched this game and rewatching is Malachi Ruffin, number 14. That kid was down there on the punt that we downed inside their 1-yard line, which is a turning point.
Played special teams.
On special teams, because field position's big. He tackled their punt returner late in the game, Devonshire, which was especially sweet because that was Devonshire was the guy who got the pick 6 last year after Bryce Ford Wheaton popped it up in the air. He's the one that picked it and took it back. Ruffin tackled and picked him up so someone else could hit him. That was great. And the guy lost like 11 yards on the punt return. He was trying to run.
He lost 11 yards on the tackle. That was just great. Pitt sucks.
Ruffin was not going to let him get away. But the one that really impressed me with him was that late interception when it got tipped up in the air by Hershey McLaurin and Malachi Ruffin went over top of the Pitt guy to get the ball. He was so determined to get the ball in that play. And I'm like, I know he's not fast. I know he's a former walk-on. I know he's not the greatest cornerback. But my goodness, the determination that kid plays with, the heart, the hustle, I just love it. And I was very impressed with the way he played in this game. Beanie Bishop was another one. He got that interception and a great run back.
Beanie Bishop is our cornerback, a transfer from Minnesota, and a very nice addition.
Number 11 didn't look so great in the Penn State game. A couple of times he got burnt. He way back off of people, but he got the interception in this game with a really nice run back. Put it in the end zone on that drive, and then he had a play, and it was in the second quarter, I think, on their second drive. They dropped back to pass. The broke contained. Jerkovic tried to run it, and Bishop was 20 yards down the field. He saw it, came up and caught Jerkovic, tackled him. This big quarterback now, Beanie Bishop's not a big guy, and hit him and brought him down for only like a 5-yard gain. And I'm like, I've seen plays in the past where a quarterback gets out of the pocket right there and runs for 25, 30 yards against us and sets them up in plus territory for a red zone territory. He comes up and makes the tackle. Not only is he fast enough to get up there, but he makes the tackle.
But he makes the tackle on a much bigger man. I agree with you. I thought C.J. Donaldson deserved a lot of credit. He was a physical runner, and he reminded me a lot of Letty last year, only faster. And
bigger and stronger.
Yep.
He ran, one of the coaches said he ran angry, and that's a good way to put it. Now, he needs to keep his daggone helmet on. I hope he got reprimanded.
At one point after his touchdown, he took his helmet off and threw it down, which is a penalty, and of course he's gotten yelled at about that.
There is no excuse for that at all. That's a sign of an undisciplined team, and you don't need that. I hope that never happens. I'm going to point another one out. Anthony Wilson's a safety, number 12. There was a play in the game where he got a defensive face mask. We didn't know what had happened in the play, and looking back, you're angry. We got a penalty, daggone it. But you look and they showed the replay. The guy had beaten him to the inside. Wilson was faked out completely, but he didn't give up. He kind of reached out to try to get the guy, to hold the guy, or whatever. He got his face mask.
He got his face mask.
He did the wrong thing. He was a flaggable. Everything's right. But you look at that a little closer. If he doesn't try to do something there, that guy's running down the middle of the field with nobody back.
I'm glad he got his face mask. That might have hurt us.
would have hit him, it would have been a touchdown. I guarantee it. So
I said in our earlier broadcast, I was looking for more pass interference penalties. I wanted to
yeah.
see our secondary be more aggressive. I'll put up with a penalty now and then if it saves a touchdown.
So yeah, I was angry about the penalty, but when I saw the replay, I was like, he's probably just saved 6 points right there. And I don't know if they even scored on that drive either. I think they got 3 on the drive, but he might have saved us 4 points. Anyway, again, he didn't give up. It's like Ruffin never gave up on the ball when McLaurin tipped it, and the Pitt guy was right there. That heart, that's what I'm loving seeing.
It was a very physical game, and we did well for ourselves. I listened to the Pitt broadcasts all week. They were saying, we're just going to do what we do. We're going to out-physical them. They didn't.
Well, they come in here thinking they were going to do that, and they lost in that same manner. We beat them at their game.
We beat them physically and made fewer mistakes.
Credit to that line. Milam, Remack, Frazier, Yates, and Nestor, they are good.
And the defensive line, there's a lot of kudos to go around. I was impressed with Koba. I was impressed with our backup running back because we lost our starting running back for part of the game too. How many games do you use a backup quarterback that's never started and you lose your starting running back and you still win the ball game? How many times that happened?
Jalen Anderson is a nice number 2 back, and Justin Johnson's still not healthy. I think he's a great runner too. And wait till he gets in them. But Jalen Anderson he's not C.J. Donaldson, but that guy can run the ball too.
Let me give you another little tidbit. On the play where it was like 3rd and 7, and we were going to have to run Nico to get the first down, they put White in there as a decoy. I don't think White ever ran the ball, but White was in as a decoy. The linebackers were all hustling on him, and Nico just ran for the first down. I always gasp, by the way, when your second-string quarterback's running for a first down against Pitt, and the third-string quarterback is a true freshman. I just have visions of somebody breaking his ankle, and then we're really got a bad season. It hasn't been that many years when our starting quarterback would go down, not just as the game over, the season was over, because we had no depth at quarterback in the past.
When Will Greer broke the finger that year, we were done. Our season was over with. No doubt about it. Yeah, I agree with you. And we've got a number 2 guy that can come in and play now. So I'm with you. And one other person I want to point out is Nico himself. The heart of that kid. I know we talked about it earlier, but he said he was nervous, but he did settle into that game. He made one big mistake, and they had to condense the playbook because he missed putting the guy in motion. But he's executed it well. It didn't get to, and he got comfortable. And then at the end, man, if you see some of the videos where he's jumping up in the stands and singing Country Roads, I mean, how great is that?
That Arizona boy has become a Mountaineer. I agree with you. There's I don't want to leave anybody out. I thought the whole team played very well. I know Brown Scott says we can do better, and that's what he's supposed to say. But we really brought the effort, and we did the job.
I agree. Trey Lathan was good at linebacker. He's growing and learning fast. And there's some linemen that are playing in there, Martin and Lockhart, even Tomey in there, and Mulba. Man, that line, defensive line that he moves in and out is good. Now, we might have a challenge this week with the way Texas Tech plays, but I like how they run that defensive line.
Pitt has a big, experienced offensive line, and they thought they were going to run right down our throats, and our guys just stopped them. And Brown says one of the reasons for that is they're practicing against our offensive line, and that makes them better. They're the most improved unit. Let's not forget our tight end from LSU. My God, I love that boy.
Oh, Cole Taylor, yeah, he's good. And even Traylon Davis got in there. And I know he didn't throw the ball to him, but he was involved in a lot of those motions and leading a lot of those plays. Him and Cole Taylor both. Very impressed with Cole Taylor. Cole Taylor is a weapon and a blocker. He's a ball player. That was a great pickup getting that dude.
It was a good game. Made me very happy. Now, West Virginia beat the spread by double digits. And as the game winded down, we had the ball inside the 20. Unlike some coaches for Penn State, we didn't kick a field goal. We didn't try and put it in. We just ran the clock out because our coach has some class to him.
I agreed. I think we were trying to score, but we got a penalty there towards the end that backed us up. And Brown said it, and I agreed with him at the time. And why try the field goal? You're up 17-6. Why try the field goal, risk a block and a run back? Just run it and try to run it in. But if you don't get it in, they go the length of the field, and they hadn't scored in the second half.
They hadn't scored. He wasn't making mistakes. That's his first goal. I get that, but it was also a classier way to act. Narduzzi, the Pitt coach, said that the 3 interceptions were the difference. I think he was clueless. I think there was a lot of problems. He didn't expect to run into the buzzsaw of our defensive line, and he didn't think we could run it like we could. And
I think so, but I think with a better quarterback, that could have been a very, very interesting game. In fact, if they had well, I'm not going to say that. I shouldn't say it. A better quarterback, they probably would have beat us because we were playing with our backup quarterback.
We still haven't been tested a good, accurate throwing and running quarterback against our secondary. I saw improvements in our secondary, but we still haven't been tested. That'll still be coming. But
next week we'll see a little bit of that.
But this is called Mountaineer Rants, and at first I was going to say, well, we beat Pitt, I'm happy, good night, everybody. But I do have a rant. There's a couple of different kinds of fans. There's Mountaineer fans, and they're great, and they're in it through thick and thin, and they suffer through the rain and the cold and the bad times and the good. And then there's frustrated Mountaineer fans, and you find them everywhere. They get irritated and frustrated because we're not winning. They think they have a better way of doing it. Sometimes they don't go to the games or follow as close. I understand those. Welcome back to those guys. But then there's another kind of fan, and it's not just West Virginia, but I'm going to talk about them, and I'm calling them trans fans. They just identify as Mountaineer fans. They're not really fans. They're not really interested in the game. They're interested in themselves and being able to swagger around saying that their team won this many games. Oh, they may be like the rest of us. They may have second thoughts that the coach is wrong, or the backup quarterback ought to be in there, or they need to run a different kind of system. We all have that. That's fine. But when they turn into a hate group, when they start rooting for us to lose, when they exult in our hard times, they're selfish. They're not supporting the school, they're not supporting the coach, and they're not supporting the kids. Now, my message to you trans fans, and I'm going to encourage the rest of you Mountaineer fans to say the same thing, is you can't identify and hang around us. As far as we're concerned, you ought to get on down the road. We don't need you. You don't care if the coach is boinking a cheerleader or being thrown out of bars so long as you get wins. Well, we do. We want a solid program, and we're building one. And this is a good example of what hard work and dedication does.
Well, I don't know if I would use the same words as you, but all you have to do is look on Facebook or YouTube videos or anything, look at the comments, and when you actually see people that want us to lose, so that will mean the sooner the coach is fired, there's something wrong with you.
Get on down the road. Go follow Michigan or Pitt or somebody else. Beat it. We don't need you. Get lost. Keep your $60 or whatever and follow somebody else.
Yeah, you might be a Mountaineer. You might think you're a Mountaineer fan, but I'm a Mountaineer fan, and I'm no friend of yours.
They're no more Mountaineer fans than Mulvaney is a beer drinker. They just identify as that. They pretend to be one.
That's good. That's good. Pretty clever. Yeah, we're going to have them mad at us after that one. But oh well, who cares?
But we had a win.
Yeah.
And this is where you're supposed to close by saying we should enjoy the win.
Oh,
okay.
I thought I was going to say, do you realize that this is the first time since 2011, 12 years, people, that when you get older like me, you realize how valuable time is. That's 12 years since we beat Pitt in football. Let's enjoy it, at least until Saturday. How about that? I thank you all for watching or listening, whichever the case may be.
And Saturday we'll enjoy beating Tech. We'll see you next time at Mountaineer Rants.
I saw that.
Maybe Terry will be back.